Welcome back to Washington Watch. I'm Tony Perkins, your host. So good to have you with us. The website, TonyPerkins.com. If you're on Parler, it's at T Perkins. Let me remind you, we've got folks standing by to take your call. If you'd like to partner with us because of a challenge match, everything you give will be matched. The effect, doubling your gift between now and December the 31st. We've got team members ready to take your call. Give them a shout. 800-225-4008, 800-225-4008. All right, I'm sure you recall the part of the Bill of Rights that expressly defends the right to gamble, to attend a casino. In Nevada, the freedom to gamble seems to have replaced the freedom of religion, or at least that is how the Nevada governor, Steve Sisolak, interprets the Constitution. Well, today, oral arguments were presented before the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to challenge the latest coronavirus restrictions that prioritize casino attendance over church attendance. Joining me now to talk about what transpired in those hearings today is the Senior Counsel and Director of the Center for Christian Ministries at Alliance Defending Freedom, Ryan Tucker. Ryan, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Hello, Tony. Thank you for having me.
So, Ryan, what can we take away from the oral arguments earlier today at the Ninth Circuit?
Well, I think they went great. It was a three-judge panel. They all asked very insightful questions, and a lot of them were premised off the Supreme Court's recent action in New York, where Governor Cuomo had instituted restrictions that really targeted the church, but also just treated them less than other secular entities. And the judges were very receptive to our arguments today, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to declare what Governor Sisolak is doing that are unconstitutional.
Now, Ryan, I saw where one of the judges of the panel said that as he was reading the briefs, he couldn't stop laughing. Tell our listeners about that.
Sure. Well, you led the discussion with the idea that there's no First Amendment right to gamble, and the attorney for the state of Nevada, both at the trial court level and now at the appellate court level, made an argument that, well, it's okay for casinos to be open because they're, quote unquote, more regulated than the church. And the judges would have none of that discussion today. And, it's just really insane to think that, at the outset, the casinos, when they reopened, they were opening at 50% capacity. So you could have hundreds, if not thousands of people on the Las Vegas Strip and the MGM Grand or one of the other large casinos. But this church, Calvary Chapel Dayton Valley, which is in rural Dayton, just outside of Carson City, they were limited to 50 people. And, it's not just, again, unsensical or nonsensical. It's just unconstitutional as well. And I really do think that the judges recognize that today during the discussion.
So just so our listeners are clear on this, what the law allows for is that in cases of emergency, public health, the government can restrict certain activities if they're reasonable and for a set time. But religious, constitutionally protected acts, such as religious expression, exercise, cannot be treated more poorly than something else. So, as you said, the casinos could open up at 50% capacity, but the churches, regardless of the size of their sanctuary, they could have a sanctuary that seats 3,000, but they're still only allowed to have 50 people, right?
That's exactly right. So you could have a large church in, say, Las Vegas or Reno or just anywhere in the state, like you mentioned, operating at, say, 2,000 people on a normal Sunday, but under the governor's restrictions, it would be limited to 50 people. And, the court in recent days at the U.S. Supreme Court and in a few instances in some other courts around the nation are beginning to realize, or at least have stated, that you can't be treating the church and its members in a second-class capacity. You can't place priority on liquor stores, on big box stores, on other retailers, and not at the very least allow the church to be operating at those same restrictions. You can't treat them less than these other secular comparators.
So, Ryan, what is the process now? What's the time frame? When do you expect to hear something from the Ninth Circuit?
Well, we hope soon. The court, again, was very receptive to the arguments today. Our hope is that we would hear something, in the coming days and possibly weeks. Your listeners may be aware of the fact we have filed a cert petition, a request at the United States Supreme Court to actually hear this case. So depending on how the arguments pan out, how the written ruling is delivered, we may very well be at the U.S. Supreme Court once again. But we'll just have to wait and see and just pray that this decision comes down quickly so that these churchgoers in the state of Nevada can have an opportunity to go back and worship the way our Constitution has designed for them to do so.
So the opinion that comes down from the Ninth Circuit, do you see that as being limited to this one church, or will it most likely affect all the churches in the state?
It'll affect all the churches in the state. Certainly that's what we've requested. We've asked that the governor's restriction be struck down, and so this should have an effect on the churchgoers in the state of Nevada. And, of course, it's the Ninth Circuit, so depending on the court's rationale, exactly what they say in the decision, it can have a more far-reaching component than just simply this church in Dayton, Nevada.
Right. Actually, the entire West Coast almost. Well, Ryan, you said there's something we need to be praying about, and I know you're going to be joining us tomorrow night for our Pray Vote Stand, our weekly gathering with folks praying. At 8 p.m., you're going to be joining us, and we'll be praying about this and other cases regarding religious freedom around the country. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us, and again, just great work at ADF. We appreciate you guys a whole lot.